Uh, Thank you very much, madam, for the introduction. Firstly, I thank Professor Chanama, ma'am, giving me an opportunity to speak or to share some of my experience, especially on the biometrics. And probably the session will be split into two parts. One is I'll be speaking 65 to 70% of the content more on the biometric and the biometric traits, whereas the another 30 to 40% I'll be speaking about how these biometrics can be used for the forensic applications, because forensic application is really an very interesting domain to work on. So probably Dr. Chanama ma'am, she'll be delivering more on the how the usage of the biometric traits, especially in the field of forensic applications, will be dealt by Chanama madam probably tomorrow or day after tomorrow, I guess. So she'll be speaking more on that part. Maybe for another 90 minutes, we'll restrict ourselves, in talking the very basics and fundamentals that how these concept of biometrics can be used for the forensic and forensic application. That is point number one. And very importantly, my objective is to touch upon the challenges that we are going to face. Right. So the challenges that we are going to face, especially with respect to the biometrics that we are going to use in the forensic applications. So each and every day, the researchers are coming out with many of the different traits that can be considered as an unique from the individual perspective. A good example, I think, the previous speaker was telling, that how your heartbeat can be used, right? So how your heartbeat can be used in order to unlock the telephone or the smartphone, right? So this is what the extent that we are, making use of our biometric or biometric traits with respect to our day-to-day activities. Why do we really bother about all these things, or are coming out with a lot of usage of these kind of technologies with respect to the content that we are going to make use? The only reason is because of the security, right? So security, or sometimes we also use a word called privacy, right? So we also use a word called privacy, and how these the traits which are considered to be very unique from the individual, right? So can be used in order to provide, either it could be an confidentiality, or it could be an security, or it could be an privacy for your data that you are going to handle. Right. So people used to spend, maximum amount of time on their research, especially with respect to securing the data, irrespective of where exactly it is stored in the previous years. But now the trend has changed, right? So now the trend has changed. Now we are looking, for the security, right? So at each and every level, right? So at each and every level, for example, you see your gadgets, right? So your gadgets has to be accessible only by you, not by anyone else, right? So that is why you'll use the fingerprint, or use your face, right? So in order to open your smartphones, right? So to access your laptops, right? So your traits will be used, right? So the biometric traits will be used, right? So even for the matter, your cars, right? So your cars will come out with lot of the advanced technology of the biometrics, such that, unless otherwise, if your trait is not used, either the car won't be unlocked, right? So won't be unlocked, or it will be locked, right? So if you see all these different types of applications nowadays, we are just, moving towards a more secured world, right? So moving towards a more secured world, and using these kind of traits called the biometric traits, and providing the efficient level of security for the data that we are going to use. Right. So by this as an just an preamble for my talk, I think I'll be not touching anything about the mathematical part, because if I just go on talk on the mathematical part, so that itself it will take an huge time, right? So huge time, because for each and every biometric trade that we are going to use. Right. So there are various mathematical models that are defined, that are designed, that are developed, that are modeled, and are tested for the different types of samples. Samples are nothing but the biometric traits in your case, right? So and then we validate it, and then we'll confirm that the biometric that we are using, right? So or the confidentiality that we are expecting is meeting our requirement. Right. So that is one part, that is exclusively designing and developing and pure mathematical model to handle the biometric. Right. So that is part two, but which I am not going to touch anything upon that. But maybe yeah, the other speakers who goes in depth of the design and development of mathematical model for the different biometric traits. I think they'll be in a right position to share some of the mathematical views of the mathematical views that can be used in order to model the biometric traits. So, for example, I think Guru sir will be talking more about the signature verification. So I think he'll be talking something about how the signature verification can be given, and better mathematical representation can make the your system so robust enough, right? So such that the percentage of false acceptance or false rejection will be reduced to the best extent, and you will have more true positive cases. Right. So this is the second part of the content that we are supposed to discuss. So and then once the biometric is designed, the title is quite very interesting. That what Chanama Madam has proposed. See, this is what actually we are talking nowadays, right? So where one or two research can be combined together, or the one or two research domains can be combined together and come out with a new best solutions. For example, I think people are there here in this platform who are really working on only the biometrical aspects, and the researchers are there who are exclusively working upon the forensic applications. Now it's such an a very interesting title that she has coined, where she has built the bridge between the two different domains called as in biometric and the forensic, such that the forensic, like how we can establish the differences between the biometrics and forensics, that I'll be trying to discuss at the later stage. But if you see the literature nowadays, the forensic and especially for the forensic, the biometrics will be an add-on component to achieve the better results. So this is what actually we are going to discuss. So with this preamble, I'll just try to share my slides, which are very basics. I think is my slides are visible, Chanama ma'am,
Yes, sir.
Bharti ma'am. Uh,
Yes, sir, it is visible.
yeah, yeah. Thank you, thank you. So I'll just make the full screen. Is it fine now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So thank you very much. Right. So this is what my title says. Right. So that is biometric traits and their challenges from the forensic perspective. So before jumping into the actual biometrics, right? So that what exactly or how exactly the biometrics can be designed and defined. I wanted to just ask you a basic question, right? So in this platform that there are around 50 participants are there. How many of you are working exclusively on biometric traits? Yes, you can either put your answers in the chat box, or you can just open the mic and you can just go on presenting. Okay, how many of you are exclusively working on the biometric traits? Sorry? Okay, biometric. Okay, so 2 biometric. Yes, yes, right. So more or less, most of them, I think, in this platform, right? So more or less, they are exclusively working upon the biometric. And if I ask a question that how many of you are working on the forensic other than Channama madam? Anyone working on face and ear modalities? Yes. Priya Sharma, forensic unwritten examination. Okay, so that's a very interesting topic. Working on forensic, yes. Fingerprint, biometric, forensic, yes. Right. So I think here is the one platform that handwritten signature. Yes, I think this is one platform where you can really try to get out something which is very interesting, especially in order to bridge the gap between the two different domains called as and the biometric as well as the forensic. So in the previous slide, the previous presentation, I think I heard the speaker was defining the word called biometric. Yes, that's absolutely true. That whatever she said, right? So it is just basically a Greek word, right? So which is made out of the two terminologies. One is bio, and the other one is the metric. So if I just try to come out with the English language explanation for this biometric, and if I split these two words called bio and the metric, bio is something which is an biological trait that you are going to make use of the living body, right? So it's made out of the living body, because it's not only the human being. Now people are talking something about the animal biometric, right? So people are talking something about the animal biometric, and people are talking something about the various biometrics that can be used, right? So in order to identify the different species, that is the flora, that is sorry, flora and fauna. Even in there is a concept called plant biometrics also, right? So plant biometrics also, that is and put together called as an flora and fauna biometric, right? So that is what the new definition that is given. It is not only with respect to an human physiological aspects of any biological being, but that is something where you can find the life, right? So in any biological being, so that is why it is called as an bio, right? So then you have another very interesting word called as a metric. Why do we need to use a word called metric? Metric is something, a word which is coined from the discipline called statistics, right? So yes, slides I am not still changing slides, I am in the still first the slide. Yes, so because I am just defining the biometric word, and then I'll keep moving the next slide. Right. So metric is one word which is coined from the discipline called statistics, because you need to measure something which can be understandable by the human being. Right. So because there are two ways of evaluating the results that you are going to get. That is, one is either through the quantitative or the qualitative. Right. So qualitative is something which you can define on your own. Right. So which is expressible. For example, beautiful, is so intelligent, right? So these are all the things which cannot be really which cannot be really quantified, right? So but, and your machine as well as our human brain is not good enough to understand this qualitative metric, right? So hence we need to go with something called the quantitative metrics, right? So quantitative metrics, in order to define these quantitative metrics, right? So we need to make use of lot of statistical equations or statistical formulations, right? So just to make sure that this is what the results that I have achieved. For example, if you take the problem of face recognition, my face is recognized as 95%. So my brain or your machine can understand, yes, your machine or your brain has identified that this is a person of 95%, right? So of 95%, but rest another 5% there is a failure, right? So this is how actually you can define the metric, either it could be an quantitative and the qualitative, and especially with respect to the from the perspective of the machines, right? So you cannot really play with any qualitative feature. You can handle only the quantitative feature. Suppose if you are handling the qualitative feature also, it has to be converted something called quantitative, and you should tell your machine that this is what the numbers that you are feeding, because ultimately at the end of the day, your machines are, including your brains, are more comfortable enough in order to handle the numbers but not the actual qualitative value. So that is why biometric, it's bio plus metric. And then there is a word called traits. What are traits? So the different traits that exist in the physiological or biological human being, or even it could be a plant, or even it could be an animal, right? So even it could be an animal, right? So for example, people talk about the fingerprint, right? So people talk about the face recognition, right? So they're all called as the traits, right? So put together, all put together, so there is a word called biometric traits. And we'll try to define, or we'll try to identify what all are the challenges that exist, especially in using these biometric traits, and how exactly these biometric traits will be acting as a supporting supporting thing to achieve the forensic applications, right? So to achieve the forensic applications, right? So with this as an introduction, this is what the definition that I try to give for the word called the biometrics, right? So because I just define, so you need to have something called the statistics in order to define the metric, right? So in order to define the metric, so basically it is a measurement and the statistical analysis, right? So measurement and statistical analysis of people's unique physical and behavioral characteristics. See, there are two very important things that we need to understand here. So one is the physical characteristics, and the other one is the behavioral characteristics, right? So both are acceptable in the domain called the biometric, right? So in the domain called the biometric, right? So a good example that can be given is as a physical trait, right? So as a physical trait, so you have something called the fingerprint, right? So you have something called the fingerprint. You have the face, right? So you have something called the iris, right? So you have something called the palm, right? So these are all the physical traits that you can capture or that you can acquire it, right? So but there are, and can you come out with identifying certain unique characteristics that exist, right? So within these physical traits, because biometric, why such a very interesting topic to work on is because of its uniqueness, right? So because of its uniqueness, and probably in the morning, in the during the inauguration session, I think my senior officers discussed something about the uniqueness of biometric. For example, the total number of population is equal to the total number of unique number of fingerprints, right? So that is true, right? So that is acceptable. Total number of population that exist in this world is equal to the total number of unique faces that exist in this world, then that is acceptable, right? So that is acceptable. But whether whenever you try to implement it on your machine, you will get it 100% or not 100%, that is the next big question. That is the that identification, or that person authentication or identification will always depends upon the researcher or the algorithm that is built by the researcher, right? So and there is another word called behavioral characteristics, right? So behavioral characteristics, there are so many behaviors which are very unique in nature, right? So which are very unique in nature. For example, something called gait, right? So gait is basically, what is gait? Can you tell me anyone what is basically a gait?
Behavior.
Walking pattern.
No. What
Walking
is
pattern.
basically a gait?
Walking style.
Walking
Sorry?
pattern. Walking pattern. Walking pattern.
Yeah, it's a walking pattern, or it's a walking style, right? So it's a walking style. And do you know the first paper that was proposed on the gait, probably in the early 1980s, right? So in the early 1980s, do you know one of the very unique fundamental characteristics that has been picked by the walking style? Can anyone tell? I think he's a very famous author. He was the one who first, proposed that gait could be an biometric. In that paper, I just forgot that. Maybe I'll share that paper with Chanama madam, and probably later she'll be sharing with you people. But what was the very basic feature that was considered? Can anyone tell? So I think it may be 30 years old, but still that's a very interesting paper. Can anyone guess what was the unique features that was considered in the that was considered as in behavioral characteristics in the walking style?
Step length.
Foot length and step length. Priya, no. Yeah, gait. What gait is basically a walking style, but what was the behavioral characteristics? What was the characteristics that was considered? Characteristics is basically a feature. What was the simplest feature that they have considered? Just to categorize, their objective was to categorize whether he is an man or she's an woman, a male category and a female category. A very fundamental characteristics was used. Walking speed, I don't think so. Speed, no. Height, no. Height, I think nowadays you cannot really discriminate based upon the height. Any wide guess at least? Walking pattern and distance of footprints. Not exactly. Oh, these are all very good set of features that you are really mentioning, but very trivial features that they have considered. Step width, hair, no. Hair nowadays, if you see, I think even boys will have the long hairs. If you see at many times, we cannot really, from the back, we cannot really identify whether he is a boy or a girl, because nowadays girls also wear jeans with a t-shirt and long hairs, right? So boys also will appear in the same way. I think you might have seen in your own campus. Step pressure, it's practically impossible to measure the pressure of steps. Okay, I'll give you the answer. The very simplest, nose pin. What is nose pin? Santosh sir? I'm not sure what is basically a nose pin, but a very fundamental feature that they considered is the walking style used in order to discriminate between the male and the female is the movement of their hands, right? So is the movement of their hands, hand and leg synchronization. No, it's just only with respect to the hand movement. Whenever you see the result achieved was hardly around 65 to 70% of result achieved the result. The reason was very simple. I think you'll get to know, right? So you'll get to know why very less result. It's because of the result, right? So it's because of the reason. Usually, whenever the female is walking, their hands will move like this. That is from left to right and right to left, right? So usually their hand moves from left to right and right to left. So that is considered as a female category, right? So whereas in the other male category, can anyone guess how exactly the hand moves? How exactly the hand moves? Any guess? The female, they considered, army style. Right, army style. But see, female, it's left to right, forward and backward. You are absolutely right. Right. So it is always the forward and the backward, right? So usually, the hands go, up and down, right? So up and down, right? So that is forward and backward. So these are it's such a very trivial, up and down, correct? It's such a very trivial, characteristics that they have considered, but they are considered as an behavioral characteristics, right? So this is how actually you can discriminate between the two set of characteristics, the physical characteristics and the behavioral characteristics. But in both the cases, either in the physical characteristics and the behavioral characteristics, irrespective of whatever the characteristics that you are going to consider, each and every trait has got its own disadvantages, right? So each and every trait has got its own disadvantages, and it's really a highly challenging task for any algorithm to achieve the best 100% of results, right? So best 100% of results in any applications that you are going to build. So why do we use this biometric? Biometric, some people will call it as the technology, and some people will call it as it is an alternative to technology, or it is an supporting they are the supporting methods that are available for the technology to enhance the better results, right? So, and some people will call it as an directly more of the computer science researchers will call them as it's an algorithmic approaches, right? So algorithmic approaches that are available especially to identify the human or the human characteristics, either through physically or through behaviorally, right? So the main, irrespective of whatever the things that you are going to consider, and whenever you have wanted to define, and whenever you wanted to give the word called whenever you wanted to define the word called the biometric, the main objective of the biometric is to use for the identification and to get the access control for identifying the individuals, right? So majorly under the surveillances, right? So majorly under the surveillances means whenever you wanted to keep track of something, right? So what is basically an surveillance? Surveillance is basically where you are going to keep track of something, right? So where you are going to keep track of something, the actions, right? So the actions, and you need to keep track of those actions in a very continuous manner or in a very regular manner. Right. So two important objectives. One is for the identification of the individuals and to provide the access control. Right. So for the data that you are going to consider under the surveillances. Right. So this is what actually the definition of an biometric goes. Right. So there are various applications that you can see in the field of biometrics, and especially when you make use of the biometrics in the forensic science. Forensic science are most widely used, especially for the law enforcement applications, especially in the law enforcement applications, right? So example, the border control, right? So example, the border control, the financial fraud, right? So and the cyber security. I think today morning you had an one session who spoke majorly on the cyber security, and and if you see your own the Aadhaar cards, right? So the Aadhaar cards, which is an unique identification card that is made available, which get enabled, right? So which get enabled with embedding two or more biometrics. For example, your iris, your signature, then your face, then your fingerprint. See, we are using the four different biometrics. Either if any one of the biometric changes or fails to get captured, right? So there could be an alternate biometrics that has to be used, right? So just to make sure that you are an unique, right? So that you are an unique, right? So and fingerprint, definitely it has played an huge interest, right? So in many of the applications, right? So because that was the yes, right? So we used to see, right? So that how fingerprints has played a very very vital role, especially in case of an biometric traits, right? So especially in order to provide the access control or for the personal identification. But see, as the time changes, right? So now the fingerprint has become and totally outdated, because it's a good example that I can give you. See, your own institute previously, whenever you wanted to get into your institute, you are supposed to give the biometric trait, and when you're going out of your campus, you're supposed to give the biometric trait. See, this COVID has changed entirely now, right? So because we don't insist on any individual, right? So to give their fingerprint as an biometric, right? So now something has changed, right? So probably we'll give our face, or probably we'll use our iris, right? So as a biometric trait, right? So in order to get the personal authentication, right? So once you make use of any different types of these kinds of traits, right? So you're you'll get an accessibility to the different types of applications. So that is called as the automated person recognition, right? So automated person recognition, right? So I think nowadays, if you see the high-end cars, right? So everything is voice-based or voice-controlled, programs, right? So that has been employed, right? So to your car, right? So as soon as you get into the car, right? So previously it was there, right? So where you are going to give your fingerprint, right? So and then you start your car, right? So now the days are, the days we are, seeing is much more ahead. As soon as we get into our car, right? So automatically we'll say car open, right? So car start, right? So are the door closed, the shutters open, the shutter close, right? So everything is voice based, voice controlled, right? So that is how actually you're trying to control the axis of all your car features, right? So all your car features, right? So that is how actually you can make use of these biometrics, to for the different applications. And in forensic science, probably I try to discuss in depth that how these biometric traits plays a very important role, especially in the law enforcement applications, because you cannot just imagine the forensic science without the usage of an biometric, because that is one of the very interesting supporting technology that is most widely used by the forensic people, right? So then smartphone security, mobile payment, smartphone security, I need not to tell, right? So each and every applications comes with the security now. For example, if you want to make sure that your WhatsApp has to be accessed only by you, then incorporate the security, right? So mobile payment, yes, it's fully of security. For example, I think you might have used many UPIs by this time, right? So it's all fully controlled through your biometric traits. Border crossing, yes, border crossing is definitely yes, right? So national civil registry and access to the restricted facilities, right? So especially in the very sensitive environments, right? So where many of the military activities, or if you take in any medical domains, the hospitals, right? So you'll be having a very restricted entries, right? So you cannot make use of your tax, general tax, or your RFID tags to get an access control, because the main reason of incorporating these biometric traits is you try to give any kind of an other alternatives compared to the biometrics, everything can be spoofed. So that is the main reason that people are not interested in using the conventional way of getting the access to the different applications, but people are more interested in using their own biometric traits, right? So in using their own biometric traits, right? So especially in the forensic science, why the biometric really plays a very very important role, right? So the major difference between the major difference, especially with respect to the data that you are going to acquire in case of the biometric applications and in case of forensic application, varies, right? So without seeing this slide, right? So without seeing this slide, can anyone tell what could be the difference? Can anyone tell what could Akash sir, Akash? Let us keep us interactive, because I know it's afternoon and you'll feel sleepy unless otherwise if you don't talk to me. Can anyone answer? Can anyone answer what could be the difference that you are going to see with respect to the acquisition of the biometric data and the forensic data?
The environment when the acquiring was done and the testing was done,
Is it
sir.
Chermai Justice?
Yes, sir.
You are from which place?
I am from Bangalore only, sir. Christu
Oh,
Jayanti College.
Sir, you are from?
Christu Jayanti College.
Oh, very nice, sir. Very nice, sir. Sir, you were telling something, please.
So the environment during acquisition and the environment during forensic testing can be different. Similarly, the cooperation by the person during acquisition and during testing can be different.
Correct. Very interesting answer. Any other answers? You are almost right, sir. 95% you are right. Any other answers from
in forensic
except Chennamma madam, except Chennamma. Except Chennamma madam. Dr. P. Pradeep Kumar, we will discuss, madam. Chennamma madam. the methods used for capture. Yes, purposes of collecting the. What are the differences? What are the differences? Yes, in both the cases we need to acquire the data. But what is the difference that you are going to see from the point of biometric and from the point of forensic? Kumari Deepika. Yeah, Kumari Deepika, environment, yes. Okay.
Environment, sir. With respect to environment, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, because while capturing the image, we can control the environment, or control the illumination and different aspects of the environment. But
Okay.
in case of the forensic, it is not
Okay.
controlled in environment.
Okay, you mean to say that we are going to acquire the data in a controlled environment in case of a biometric, right?
Yeah, it could be. It could be controlled or uncontrolled environment, both.
Okay, so I think even your answer is almost right, madam. Right. So the Justers as well as Kumari Deepika, your answer is almost right. Yes, in most of the cases, the biometric traits are captured in the constrained environment. Right. So in the constrained environment. Right. So unless otherwise, right. So unless otherwise, for example, even your get trait, right? So even that is captured under the constraint environment. A good example that I can give you is such that your acquisition device is set up in such a way that all, for example, Kumari Deepika mentioned something called illumination, brightness, contrast, everything. It is all prefixed, especially with respect to the acquisition of the biometric. But that is not the case, especially in case of forensic applications, because it is totally an unconstrained, right? So it's totally an unconstrained, right? So it is totally an unconstrained environment, and sometimes, and in most of the cases, it is uncooperative, because forensic, what is basically in forensic science? Forensic science is a science which is exclusively used to identify something, the crime that has occurred, right? So then only the forensic comes into picture, right? So the forensic comes into picture if there is and some tampering of the data or something which is abnormal takes place, right? So I think Dr. Channamma madam will explain you more on the forensic in the next sessions. But in case of forensic applications, this is what the major challenge that you are going to encounter, especially the unconstrained environment and the uncooperative environment, right? So, but this is very simple in case of biometric, right? So this is very simple in case of biometric, but still the biometric can be used for the the forensic application and make our life very simple, right? So by making use of the biometric traits, right? So for the forensic science, how that is what actually we are going to discuss in the next coming slide, right? So crime scene investigation, where the biological evidence gleaned from a scene may be of very, very poor quality, right? So that is what actually I wanted to tell, because it is totally an uncooperative and it is totally an unconstrained environment. You cannot really fix upon any kind of the acquisition devices as in when or as in what you require, right? So that's the major challenge that you are going to encounter, especially with respect to the forensic traits, right? So next, this is another very interesting slide, right? So this slide more or less these textual context I have already defined. FRR and FAR may affect the biometrics collected during the forensic applications. Yes, you are absolutely true, because there are a lot of trade-offs that we wanted to discuss, right? So that we wanted to discuss, and that can be taken as one of the very interesting research topic, because there exist, right? So better the accuracy, probably probably the acquisition of the images could be at the lower rate, right? So these kind of trade-offs definitely exist, but we need to balance being a researcher, right? So that is what actually we are going to discuss in depth in the next coming slide, right? So this slide is very important because of the reason, right? So probably the first that what I am trying to tell you is, so this is an one trait, right? So which is of very unique nature, can be used, right? So as in trait, right? So a question may be arised. Suppose if he is a blind, right? So suppose if the iris is damaged, or if sclera is tampered, right? So or something, the surgery takes place with respect to the is with respect to the iris, or suppose if there is an insertion of a lens in order to change the pattern that exists within the iris. There are so many things, right? So there are so many things, but still that is a very challenging task. And you see the second one using something called this is basically an invasive way of providing the security, such that you have something called the PIN code or your debit cards or your credit cards, and you are entering the information and then try to get the accessibility. Now the question arises, suppose if that card itself is hijacked, then all your personal information is gone, right? So all your personal information is gone, right? So, and the third one is a very interesting statistics that I have put, right? So because you wanted to have a look on how the total number of, right? So how the total number of users are increasing, right? So how the total number of users are increasing every year, or on the different time basis. See, we started with 137 million users in 2012, especially in the India, I am telling, right? So especially in the India telling, right? So down the line, with just hardly 7 years of span, right? Sorry, hardly 9 years of span, this 137 has jumped into 829, right? So almost it is five-folds, right? So almost it is five-folds, right? So now you can really understand, right? So now you can really understand that how many number of our users are daily getting added, right? So to the internet users, and how actually you are supposed to secure the data, right? So how actually you are supposed to secure the data, right? So this is a very important, interesting slide that I wanted to show you. That is especially with respect to the statistics, right? So this is a very important and very interesting slide that most of you are supposed to concentrate. Right, so this is exclusively with respect to the biological or the behavioral characteristics of the biometric trait. Right, so some of the very fundamental, characteristics or the features that is exhibited by the biometric traits are the following. The first one is the universality. Right, so what is basically an universality? Universality is something where whichever the characteristics that you are going to capture from the individual, right, so will remain unique and distinct, right? So throughout his lifespan, right? So throughout his lifespan, right? So that is what actually I mean to say from the point of distinctiveness, right? So where if you take even the two individuals, right? So even the two individuals, for example, I'll say twins, right? So even in the twins, right? So there could be a high possibility, right? So of the consideration of the biometric, right? So will uniquely varies, right? So will uniquely varies. For example, you take sclera as a biometric, right? So the sclera that you are going to find in the first baby, right? So and the sclera that you are going to find in the second baby, both are twins, right? So but still there is an unique characteristics that exist within the sclera pattern, right? So that is why the universality and the distinctiveness plays a very, very crucial role, or the important characteristics of any biometric trait. Then you have something called permanence, right? So which is invariant. You don't find any kind of a variation with respect to the time. The only variation that you are going to find, provided if you physically damage your trait. For example, your fingerprints get damages, probably with the application of the oil, or due to the regular usage, some of hard works, or something, the burn of this fingerprint, right? So that is basically the physical damage that you are going to make to your biometric trait. Otherwise, absolutely you cannot see any kind of a variation throughout the lifespan of a human being. So that's the beauty of the biometric trait. Collectability, it can be easily collectible, right? So it can be easily collectible and it can be quantifiable, right? So collectability, yes, because nowadays we are not at all bothered about asking for giving for the fingerprint or giving for the signature. No, right? So days are gone, because especially during this COVID time, from past 2 years, from past 2.5 years, we don't use the pen used by the others, nor we are going to give our biometric traits, right? So that is basically a fingerprint with whoever has already used that particular devices, right? So who has used that particular devices. I think even in the supermarket, if you have seen the very reputed supermarkets, if you are using your credit cards or debit cards, you are not supposed to enter the PIN code. Rather than now, people are using more of touch, touch-based credit, touch-based credit cards or touch-based debit cards, right? So there will be an incorporation of a SIM card, and that will fetch all your biometrics, right? So that is stored in the database, right? So the performance, yes, the overall performance of the system can be increased to the best extent, right? So the best extent, and it is universally acceptable, right? So and it is universally acceptable, right? So these are some of the best set of characteristics that you can consider, right? So from the point of biometric traits, right? So to mention some of the biometric traits, I'm just giving an highlight which is being taken by the Anil K. Jain's paper, right? So that is a very interesting paper that you should really read it. That is I think some of you might have read. That is bridging the gap from biometrics to forensics. Anybody has read that paper? Bridging the gap between the biometrics and forensics. Anyone has read that paper? It is written by Arun K. Rose and Anil K. Jain. It's a very interesting paper that you should really look into it. Right, so it's a very interesting paper, and that paper was basically published in the Philosophical Transactions, that was in the year 2015. Even though it is 6 years old paper, but that is a very interesting paper that you should really concentrate. And this is one picture that is directly taken from that paper. Now, who is Anil K. Jain? I think most of you, yes, I'll send the paper to Chennamma Madam, and definitely, otherwise you can just go Google it, you will get it, the hard copy, bridging the gaps between the biometrics and the forensics. Do you know who is Anil K. Jain?
Yes, sir. Father of biometrics. Right now, he is the professor in University of Michigan.
MSU, yes. He is the nomenclature father of biometrics. It's given by you, or is officially given like that? Deepika?
Sir, officially, I guess it is given, no?
Officially is termed as a father of biometrics.
Yes, sir.
That's very interesting. Just you check it out. Okay, why he is considered as father of biometrics? Why is that? Is there any specific reason for that? Yes, if you just go to MSU, Michigan State University, and there is an exclusive lab of him, PRIP lab, that is Pattern Recognition and Image Processing Lab, right? So, and if you see the tremendous work that is done by him, that is Anil K. Jain, Professor Anil K. Jain and his team, right? So, it's something which is very tremendous. But the contribution that he has made, right? So, the contribution that he has made, especially in the field of biometric, is something amazing. Do you know one very interesting point of Professor Anil K. Jain? The very interesting point is, do you know most of the North American airports, right? So do you know most of the North American airports, right? So are run by using these algorithms, biometric algorithms. Do you know that, Deepika?
No, sir.
Most of the North American airports are making use of this algorithm, right? So that is the level of contribution that he has done, especially in the
even in the Aadhaar this project, his contribution is there.
Yes, definitely, yes. He is in an advisory panel. Right? So, but he has done really a great, especially in the field of biometric. Biometric-based boarding may be one of the application. Yes, you're absolutely.
I have one question, sir. May I ask right now?
Yeah. Please go on.
Yeah, sir. When you talked regarding the movement of hand between the female and the male pattern, right? So
Yes.
at that time you have mentioned the 65% to 70%. This is the pattern. So if there is a 65 to 70% pattern is matching, in that case we can take it as a the features, or it could be some at least 80% or 90%.
No, it all depends upon the application. See, anything, especially for the person identification or the person authentication, we are not in a position to compromise. 65% is something which is very, very less. Right?
Yeah, it's an average.
Yeah, which is very, very less. Right. So for my application, but if I maybe, for example, if I ask Bharti Madam is working something on the signature verification and signature, verification and authentication. But if I ask Bharti Madam, she is not happy with 95% of the results. It depends.
Okay, it depends upon the application,
Yes,
right?
yes, absolutely. Is absolutely right. So because
Okay, so
she
thank you.
expects something which is 100%. Right. So some applications, even though there is an trade-off, but still I expect at least the remarkable achievement of around 90%. Right. So which is not really fair. See, for example, morning. Right. So when one example was given, for example, with respect to the pulse rate. Right. So you just imagine. See, each and every time, whenever you try to measure your pulse or your heart rate, it keeps on changes. Yes or no?
Yes, sir. It is changing. It is dynamic. It is
Right.
changing.
Yes, it is 72 basically. Whenever you try to measure your pulse rate, right? So in most of the time, your heart rate is not 72. Agree?
Yes, sir.
Right. So it keeps on changes, and the contrast and the relaxation also keeps on changes depending upon your anxiety level, depending upon the stress that you are, or the calmness that you are. Right. So there are so many things that you can consider. Right. So it depends upon the application. Maybe in that application you can compromise to the certain level. Okay. So
Okay.
this is basically a fingerprint, right? So this is basically a palm print, right? So and this is basically a handshake and this is basically an handshake, and this is basically an signature. So this is basically
Hand dorsal.
yeah, this is basically a face, and this is basically a DNA, which is very high complex biometric, right? So and this is basically a sclera, right? So this is basically a sclera. This is a very interesting area that you can really work on. Some of the challenges are still encountered, especially in case of the sclera and the sclera trait. And from the perspective of acquisition, when compared to the iris, the sclera is much more easier when compared to the iris. So that's the beauty of this. And the shape of the ear or the geometry of the ear also, it's a very unique. And the keystrokes, right? So and the keystrokes or the dynamics of the keystrokes are also unique, right? So you just see, right? So and then the teeth is also and very unique. And then you have something called the walking style, or nothing but the gait. Then you have the voice as in biometric. Then you have an iris, right? So you have an iris as an biometric, right? So then you have the retina, right? So iris and the retina as an biometric, right? So you just decide upon, right? So you just decide upon like which biometric that you are supposed to make use, right? So in order to build your biometric system, right? So by considering various traits, right? So this is an very interesting table that is given, and especially people who are really working on the biometric traits, and if you are planning to make use of these biometric traits for the forensic application, right? So try to understand these slide to the best extent, right? So because of the so many reasons, right? So these are all the 7 basic fundamental parameters that we are going to consider in order to make sure that the whatever the trait that we are going to consider is the best trait, right? So there will be always an confusion whenever we are trying to build a biometric system, whether to consider a fingerprint, whether to consider a face, whether to consider an iris, whether to consider as in voice, whether to consider an palm geometry, whether to consider an ear shape, signature, right? So there are so many things, right? So I think people in these 5 days, right, so we'll go on talking on this. Maybe There will be one speaker who speaks upon the face, and there is one speaker who speaks about the signature, and there is one speaker who can speak about the voice, right? So see, there are three biometrics, but there is always an debate, right? So whether which is more accurate, which is more reliable, which is more stable, and can any give any unique ID, and from which distance you can capture that unique trait, and whether do you need an user cooperation, right? So because people are not interested in sharing their biometric now, right? So then we need to capture the biometric totally in the uncontrolled environment, right? So or non-cooperative environment, and the population that you are going to see, right? So these are all the things that you need to consider as an basic 7 metrics against the different traits, right? So against the different traits, right? So these are some of the basic comparison that you can see with respect to the various biometric traits, right? So this is a very important slide, right? So with respect to the challenges that you are going to encounter, see, the number is so huge, right? So that is almost 6 billion faces, right? So 6 billion faces, right? So don't you think it's challenging? Yes or no? 6 billion faces. How do you differentiate between 6 billion faces? Right. So large number of samples and classes. Right. So large number of samples and classes. Right. So and whatever the changes that you are going to see, right? So but still it has to be it should be in a position to identify that this is the phase that you are that you are trying to monitor, whether I come in with the spectacles or I don't come in the spectacles, whether I have a beard or black beard or white beard, right? So whether I'll make some alternate, I make some changes to my face, right? So irrespective of whatever the things that I do, my algorithm should be in a position to identify that he is the person that you are trying to look for, right? So this is one. And the second one is the large intra-class variability, right? So this is very important thing, especially intra-class and inter-class variability. I think Professor Guru sir will talk something about on this tomorrow during the signature verification topic, that how this intra-class variation and the inter-class variation varies a lot. Right. So what is basically an intra-class variability? Intra-class variability is within the class you have a larger variability. Right. So whereas small interclass between the class, right? So between the classes you have a very small variation. Now how do you really minimize that, right? So you are supposed to minimize the intra-class variability and you are supposed to maximize the inter-class variability. So that is the very challenging task. And next comes the segmentation, right? So if you take segmentation, right? So even if you start studying a very basic textbook on any image processing or any biometric application, it starts with lot of attention towards the segmentation. What is basically a segmentation? Can anyone tell? Can anyone define in a very simple? Don't give me a textbook definition. Segmentation.
Sir, what is class here in biometrics?
Yeah.
Class
is something where you are going to keep the samples belonging to the one particular category. Class is basically a category. For example, male, right? So male is basically a category. You have 100 samples. 100 male faces are put together in one category or one class. So that is basically a class, right? So second class, 100 female faces, right? So you are trying to put, right? So you are trying to put the 100 different female faces in one category, right? So that is the second class.
Okay.
Right. So I think some of your friends have given the definition. Extracting interested part segmentation. Yes. Don't mind what in case of transgenders, sir. How do you identify their walking style through biometric behavior? So that's the very interesting challenge that Ulleka Sai, that you can really work on it, right? So that you can really work on it, and people are already into it, right? So and people are already into it, and you have a very efficient solution for that.
Sir, segmentation is the process of fragmenting the whole image into the number of segments, sub-images.
What is fragmentation then?
Shall I tell that? Segmentation means extracting the foreground image from the background.
Oh, it's more of the technical definition. You're absolutely right, madam. Shalini ma'am, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, Shalini ma'am,
Because
you are.
I'm doing the same part of biometrics research on that. So because of that, I thought it's the exact meaning of
Yes,
segmentation.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So, in simple word to say, for any in layman's language, it is basically the extraction of region of interest. Right. So, it's basically an extraction of region of interest. So, what I am interested, you just try to extract it. So, that is basically in segmentation. If you see the whole screen, right? So, I am interested only in that textual content, right? So, you just you just try to eliminate all the other information. Maybe, for example, I am seeing the different faces. I am seeing the browser. I am seeing the other different applications that are open, but I am not interested in that. I'm only interested in the textual contents that are present. So that is how actually the biometric segmentation takes place, right? So biometric segmentation takes place. For example, whenever you try to capture the sclera, right? So sclera always there is a clumsy information that you'll get, right? So that is basically and distorted images and noisy images. Why it is called as a noisy images? Because we are more interested only in capturing that red veins, right? So that is present in the sclera, but your acquisition device is not designed in such a way that it tries to extract only the red part of the sclera trait, right? So it comes with the white part, right? So it comes with the white part. Suppose if your eyelids are your eyes are slowly closed like this or partially closed like this, then definitely that could be really a very challenging task, right? So these are all the noisy and the distorted image, population coverage and scalability, right? So the system performance, the error rate, the speed and the cost, these are all some of the very interesting challenges that you can really work on. And the attacks on biometric system, right? So every day, right? So people are talking, that some information is hacked or some information is freezed or some information has accessed without the prior access control, right? So that the reason is because of the attacks that takes place on the biometric systems, right? So the attacks that takes place on the biometric system, right? So irrespective of whatever the biometric that are considered so-called unique, right? So but still they are susceptible for the attacks, right? So they are susceptible for the attacks, right? So this I'll just simply skip these things because I try to take up these things at the later stages. Fingerprints hardly it will take 5 to 9 seconds, so that is why it is considered to be one of the best biometric. And facial recognition, it is non-invasive. You need not to keep the you need not to keep the camera, or you need not to acquire the information under the constrained environment. And the iris, yes, it is an invasive, but the low false acceptance rate, so that's the best part. And the DNA, in the DNA you can really establish the familiar relationship, and it is the most commonly used in the law enforcement, right? So how I'll try to give some more examples maybe in the next slides, right? So if you take the forensic biometric, so this is another very interesting word that I wanted to discuss, right? So that is from the point of forensic biometric, right? So what is the very important thing that that really matters, especially in the field of forensic, is basically the evidence, right? So it's basically the evidence. In most of the cases, whenever the crime is conducted, right? So whenever the crime is conducted, we always are the crimes, right? So we'll always make sure that no information is left out, right? So I have a very interesting, slides that I can showcase you, right? So maybe in the next coming slides, right? So that is why this forensic biometric, plays a very, very important role, and it can be categorized into 3. So this is the next trend that is taking place, especially in the field of forensic biometric, right? So the days are gone now. People are looking only for the biometrics, and people are only looking for the forensic, right? So now if you ask Channamma madam is more interested in integrating these 2 points, right? So that is, you'll get the forensic information, also you'll get the the biometric information. Then can you cusp it, right? So can you cusp it, and can you come out with the new results, right? So can you come out with the new results such that the results will be a very drastic improvement from the existing one, right? So next you have an intelligent interpretation, investigative interpretation, and then the evolution interpretation. See, especially in case of an forensic biometric, right? So what is the major difference that you are going to see between the biometric acquisition and the forensic acquisition of the data? I think we discussed previously. Can anyone tell? Can anyone tell what is the basic fundamental difference that you are going to see with respect to the biometric data acquisition and the forensic data acquisition? Yes. Environment, unconstrained, yes, that is true. Uncooperative, unconstrained, yes, that is true. Absolutely right. Otherwise, there is one fundamental difference other than these things. Can anyone tell that? Shalini ma'am?
Yes, sir. I'm here.
Yeah. Can you quality, Suresh? Yes, quality data usage is different after it's captured. Not exactly. Then
That's depend on camera, right, sir?
depend upon camera. No.
And the
Yogesh.
how we try to capture the photo, like keeping light environment.
Yeah. That's what unconstrained environment. So that is basically an unconstrained environment and uncooperative environment. Other than that, the basic difference that limited amount of data. It depends. You can go on, because since the storage devices are very cheap, you can go on storing the capturing the data. That is not a big problem nowadays. The very basic fundamental difference is,
Sir, in case of the acquisition, the angle should be it should be in front of the capturing device. But in case of the forensic, it should be some angular position, some rotations.
oh no, it's very technical. I think that the incident place searching for biometrics, Pradipar, and forensic basically related to crime. Bhavani madam, yes, forensic basically related to crime. The one of the fundamental difference, right? So which is very trivial, right? So the biometric is always automated. Agree? Yes or no? It's always an automated. Means you try to capture the biometric and you'll give it to an algorithm. Automatically your algorithm tell, yes, this is the person that you are looking for. Yes or no? That is basically what actually happens in case of biometric. Whereas in case of a forensic, it is always a manual intervention. Yes or no? Because the crime investigation department or the crime investigation patrol is going to collect the information. It all depends upon how he or she is going to collect the data. Yes or no? Right. So, for example, intelligence interpretation. You see, intelligence interpretation. See, for all the three types. Right. So, I have used a common word called interpretation. Intelligence interpretation, investigative interpretation, and evaluative interpretation. Interpretation is nothing but which varies from person to person. Right. So, which varies from person to person, and especially in case of a forensic biometric. Right. So, that is the major challenge. Right. So, it varies from person to person. Right. So, it varies from person to person. For example, it happens many times. Right. Suppose if there is a crime scene. Right. So, if somebody has hanged in that particular room. Right. So, by the time it reaches the police, there will be so many number of stories. Yes or no? Right. So, there will be a story cooked up. Right. So, he hanged, because of his personal reason. But there will be, there are so many reasons that we are going to cite. Yes or no? Somebody will, tell that it's because of the love failure. Right. So, because that is the first cause. Right. So, love failure. Right. So, somebody will say he has got a lot of debts on him. Right. So, somebody, says that he didn't do good in his exams. Right. So, somebody says that, there are so many, way of interpreting the results. Right. So, there are so many ways of interpreting the results. So, that is why the interpretation is always manual, where in case of a forensic biometric. Right. So, we want to evaluate that. Right. So, we want to eliminate that. Right. So, we want to eliminate that. Right. So, that is possible only through the evaluation interpretation, and it is not possible either in the intelligence part and the investigation part, because a good example that I wanted to give you is, see, intelligence interpretation, sometimes there are so many different cases that has been cracked by the police within the 24 hours of the crime conducted. Yes or no? Yes or no? Hello? Yes or no? Hello? Right. So, but there are some other good examples that I wanted to give. Right. So there are so many years that they have taken, still they are not able to crack that. See, 2611, right? So 2611, it was a big shock for the United States of America. But how many years they took? Right. So how many years they took to kill the Osama bin Laden? Almost 4 years. Right. So he was killed during 2015, right? Sorry, 2005, right? Right. So they took almost 4 years in spite of the high-end technology that was available. Right. So that is a good example that their interpretation went false. Right. So the intelligence can be applied in the different ways. And then coming to the investigation, right? So investigative interpretation, right? So see, there are 10 different police personals and there are 10 different ways of starting the investigation. Right. So it all depends upon the individual that how he is going to interpret the cases that you are going to present. And while presenting the case itself, right, so some of the very important and unique points we may miss out, right? So which can be an breakthrough for that particular case, right? So hence, these 2 points, we don't really, can be automated to the best extent. That is the intelligent interpretation and the investigative interpretation. But the evaluative interpretation, yes, for the evaluation interpretation, right? So you can, you can imbibe the different biometric applications, like which can be done at the various levels. One is at the source level, one is at the activity level, and the other one is at the offensive level, right? So one is at the offensive level, right? So now if you just go on differentiating between the biometric versus forensic, I'll just simply skip all these slides, right? So yes, forensic science, which involves a lot of manual intervention, right? So which involves a lot of manual intervention, whereas in case of a biometric trait, right? So biometric recognition, right? So it is, it is fully automated, right? So it is fully automated, and it is typically used before the occurrence of any event, where in case of a biometric recognition, whereas the forensic science comes into picture when after the event has occurred, right? So when after the event has occurred, right? So whereas in case of the crime scenes, whereas in case of a forensic science, the data that you are going to capture is not up to the expected level, because the data that you are going to capture, it will be totally under the unconstrained environment and the different other environmental factors that affects the quality of the trait that you are going to capture, right? So forensic science predominantly involves the manual collection, right? So and examination of evidence when compared to the biometric recognition, because biometric recognition is fully automated, whereas forensic sciences, that is not the case, because you are going to do manually the collection of the samples, right? So for the evidence, and if you talk from the perspective of the biometric system, computationally the biometric systems are very efficient, right? So are very efficient, whereas if you compare the same with respect to the forensic biometrics, right? So real-time recognition is not a requirement, because forensic is comes into picture only when the event has already occurred, right? So only when the event is already occurred, right? So then the next set of an example, in case of a forensic science, the false non-match is highly undesirable, right? So highly indesirable, whereas in case of a biometric, it always depends upon the application, right? So the application at hand and the consequences of false matches, because somebody was telling in the previous slide, yes, in case of an biometrics, there could be, since it is fully automated, there could be a high chances of less false acceptance rate, right? So less false acceptance rate, right? That is what actually we are going to achieve from the point of the biometric traits, right? So in case of the forensic, right? So in case of the forensic, the some of the decisions that it is going to make, right? So some of the decisions that it is going to make, it will be an inconclusive, right? So it will be an inconclusive. Whereas in case of an biometric trait, right? So whereas in case of an biometric trait, right? So most probably the decisions are based upon the matching criteria, right? So the decisions are based upon the matching criteria. And the last slide, from the perspective of the quality of the evidence, right? So the data that you are going to get from the forensic science is of very lower quality when compared to the biometric, because biometric is totally under the controlled environment, whereas in case of an forensic data is totally under the unconstrained environment, right? So in case of an unconstrained environment, whereas in case of a forensic investigation, as I already told, the outcome always depends upon the individual perception, right? So individual perception, that is nothing but how you are going to communicate verbally, right? So that is individual perception, that how you are going to understand the case, right? So whereas in case of a biometric, it is not so, right? So it is always exclusively based upon the numerical score, right? So exclusively it depends upon the numerical score. These are some of the differences that you are going to see with respect to the biometric traits, whereas the biometric science, whereas with respect to the forensic science, right? So this is the overall diagram that I wanted to give you, that how exactly the data is acquired, right? So the data is acquired, right? So maybe I can just go on talking on this. Probably in tomorrow's session, either the Bharti madam or Guru sir are going to discuss much more about this block diagram, because they'll be discussing more about the testing part, the training part, right? So how to generate the templates, feature extraction, feature selection, and different types of feature selection. And then in order to match between the two templates, you're supposed to make use of the similarity measures, right? So once the similarity measure is computed and it is stored in the database, and a new test sample is given, how the test sample is compared with the trait that is stored in the database, right? So then what is the matching rate that you are going to compute, right? So what is the time that it takes in order to find out the matching rate, right? So everything will be discussed by the other speakers. But this is how actually that happens, right? So it is not basically a biometric engine, right? So biometric engine can be configured such that, right, so it suits to any forensic application also, right? So in any forensic application also, right? So this is one I'll just simply go on, give you some of the very interesting, because since I have left with another 10 minutes, right? So I'll just go on giving the different types of traits that are available and the challenges that are available, right? So with respect to the fingerprints, there is a feature called ridges, right? So you can come out with the various set of features, right? So especially only with respect to the ridges, right? So a ridge termination, right? So where you are going to find something called the valley bifurcation, and similarly the vice versa is also true, right? So similarly vice versa is also true. And if you see these green color lines, right, so they are basically the termination and the bifurcation of the ridges, right? So that are derived, right? So that are derived out of this trait, right? So that is out of C, right? So there are different nomenclatures that is given, right? So maybe if you work upon the fingerprint fingerprint biometric, right? So you will be more well versed with these particular terminologies like lake, spur, crossover, etc. And there is another very interesting feature that you can really work on, and that is called as the Menascia point, right? So that is called as a Menascia point, and this is another feature that you can really work upon, the arch feature, right? So the tented arch, right? So the left loop, the right loop, the orb, the twin loop, right? So how it can be used for the forensic application, right? So because see, maybe the first A, B, C doesn't suit according to the information that is captured by the crime scene investigator, right? So maybe they can think of, right? So maybe they can think of automating the things, right? So automating the things, right? So such that if any missed information, see, you please make a note of it. This is a very important and very interesting domain to work on, especially to work on filling the missed information, right? So actually it comes under the area of pre-processing, right? So it comes under the area of pre-processing. We have seen the varieties of pre-processing techniques like eliminating the noise, eliminating the outliers, eliminating the unwanted information, eliminating the zeros, reducing the higher dimensional matrix to the lower dimensional matrix, right? So eliminating the misinformation, eliminating the redundant information. There are so many different pre-processing techniques that we have discussed, but the present trend, especially in any different domain, it's not only in the field of forensic applications or forensic biometric, but even that is true in the field of different domains, especially to fill the missed information, right? So to fill the missed information, I mean to say, for example, if you just observe this pattern, and if you have only this part of an information, right? So can you come out with a modeling, right? So can you come out with a modeling? So that is called as an 3D modeling methods, right? So such that modeling, right? So will build the entire fingerprint architecture, right? So that builds the entire fingerprint architecture, right? So that is the level of work that is going on, right? So that is what is expected by the forensic, right? So because in case of a forensic, nobody is interested to give the full information, and nobody touches anything. I'll give you some case studies maybe in the next slide, right? So then definitely you can appreciate that how these things will really help out, right? So these are some of the challenges that you can see with respect to the fingerprint. I don't discuss much about these challenges, right? So because I'll try to share the slides with Chanama madam, maybe you can just because these are not only the 3 challenges that I'm going to encounter, but there are so many other challenges depending upon the context and depending upon the application that you are going to make use, right? So hence a timely solution has to be designed and developed in order to reduce the challenges that you are going to encounter, especially while handling the biometric. Right, so forensic applications, right? So especially in the field of forensic, right? So it is considered as one of the most important criminal investigation tools, right? So because of the 2 interesting features, one is the persistence and the other one is the uniqueness, right? So which I have already discussed, right? So the next one is the DNA, right? So I have selected, I have considered only the selective biometric traits, but there are many other biometric traits which are already told in the previous slide, right? So which are already told in the previous slide, but this is another very interesting biometric trait that you are supposed to consider, especially in the field of biometric application, right? So the combination of an ACGT, right? So this is becoming a very big headache, especially for the people who are really committing the crimes, right? So people who are really committing the crimes, right? So because this is one interesting trait that is considered to solve most of the applications, and it is widely acceptable law enforcement technique. I think if you are from Karnataka, sir, Ridges, I guess it is captured by the high resolution devices. Yes, you are right, Kumari. Yes, you are right. Right. So just if you are from Karnataka, I think you might be knowing that there was a big scam, especially with the sandalwood celebrities, in consuming the drugs, right? So in dealing with the drugs. But unfortunately, there was no proper evidence for the police department to say that they have committed the crime, right? So that they have committed the crime. So then what exactly they did? They took the hair follicle. I think this you might have read in the newspaper also. They took the hair follicle. So hair follicle that is considered as an the fiber, right? So hair fiber, right? So and that particular hair follicle has got a potentiality of having the information up to 8 months of time. You see the duration, right? So if you have consumed, I mean, if any person has consumed the drug, right? So which is banned, and that particular substance, right? So will remain in the hair follicle at the rate of 8 months, right? So from the date of consumption, you just imagine. But unfortunately, it has got its own limitation, the time, right? So unfortunately, it has got its own limitation, the time, right? So probably, I think Chanama madam will discuss more on this, right? So because it is taking its own sweet time, right? So just to come out with an rate at which, right? So the rate at which it is identifying the substances that are present in the hair follicle, right? So that are present in the hair follicle, right? So challenges, time required for DNA analysis, right? So ethical concerns, cost, and DNA chimeras. So this is more technical. I don't discuss much about this, right? So forensic usage, especially in the immigration, airport and border security, military intelligence, mass fatalities, on-site typing performed within the criminal justice system, etc. IRIS, yes. So it was first proposed in the year 1989 by John Dogman. Right. So this is a very interesting paper that is available in the literature by John Dogman. Right. So who worked till the application of the wavelet transformation techniques. Right. So to extract the texture features of.
Sorry to interrupt, sir. I have one doubt.
Please.
The image which you have taken, like ridges, if there is any missed information is there, or any ridges are missing, how it does affect on the result, total accuracy, or whether it is
Madam.
affecting the total result or not? If there is any missed information, if I try to avoid it, is that affect on the total result?
Yes, definitely, yes, madam. Because see, especially in case of an biometrics, right? So unless otherwise the full trait is given, right? So unless otherwise the full trait is given, right? So unless otherwise with the full trait your model is not trained, then obviously there will be high chances of giving the high false acceptance rate. Right. So I mean to say, see, a good example that I wanted to give you is, if you take a new phone and if you are trying to give your fingerprint, how many times you are supposed to give? You
2
just
times.
Huh?
2 times.
No. You just observe it. It's more than 2 times. Sometimes it could be more than 5 times also. You know why? Because it tries to capture the full template. Right. So it tries to capture the full template such that all the ridges, holes, right? So and the minutia points will be captured. Right. So till that time it will be keep on asking till the template generation. Right. So till the template generation. That is the major limitation that exists with respect to the fingerprint. Right. So in such case, even if there is a small information that is missed out, and if you train the machine, probably there could be a high chances of resulting the low results. Am I clear?
Yes, sir. If there is any possibility to overcome that, for example, if I consider half face, we can create a remaining half face for simply we can roughly we can create it. If there is any possibility to give the 100%, like my above 90% of result, consider that half face as a dummy and a half face as a full face.
Yes, madam, definitely. See, it's not only. I think you're from Karnataka, Shalini ma'am.
Yes, sir.
Sorry.
Sir?
Are you from Karnataka?
Yes, sir. I'm under the research student of Hemant Kumar, sir.
Okay. So I think you might be knowing this Gauri Lankesh case, right?
Yes.
Gauri Lankesh case.
Yes, sir.
Right. So actually, they come out with the full face depiction. Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Just by taking all the information, unfortunately there were no CCTV footages. They collected all the information, but that even though the template was not exactly 100% matching, but somehow they could achieve that template of that particular face. Right. So that is basically called as modeling. Right. So that is basically called as modeling. That the example that I gave is with respect to the face, but the same thing is also true with respect to the fingerprint. It can be done. It can be done, but provided you should have highly sophisticated, best mathematical tools and the models in order to build the models.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is with respect to the iris, and I'll just skip all these things because I think we are. Channamma madam, can I take with another 5 to 6 minutes of time with your permission? It's already 4:02.
Sure, sir. Sure.
Okay, another 5 minutes. I'll give very interesting case studies.
No problem, sir. You can continue even for 10 minutes also.
But for the participants.
I think they are interacting nicely. So
Okay. So maybe I just want to showcase, some of the case studies that how this really biometric played a very vital role in cracking the very big cases. Right. So one is the immigration control, national ID, crime investigation, and this is with respect to the gate. That is nothing but the walking style. See here how exactly the mathematical model has been generated, and it is given to the a neural network, deep neural network. But this is the other part or the complex part of the learning algorithm. I am not going to discuss much about this because this is where actually you need to spend maximum amount of mathematics, right? So maximum amount of mathematics, right? So the gate challenges high dimensionality, the temporal dependence. Temporal dependence andre as and when the time keeps on changes, your walking style also changes. High variability depending upon your requirement, you're going to you're going to change your walking style or the way that you're going to walk. Correlation between the curves, so that is nothing but the that is nothing but the front foot and the back foot and the non-linear relationship, right? So which this is how actually we are going to define the non-linear relationships. Right. So these are some of the very interesting challenges that you are going to encounter with respect to the gate. Right. So gate forensic usage. Right. So I think I'll just skip all these things. Face biometric. Yes. See, this is what the 3D modeling of the face biometric. Right. So this is what the 3D modeling of the face biometric. And if you see this, right. So we have constructed each and every nook and corner of the face. Right, so there are so many different mathematical parameters that you are supposed to consider. Right, so could be in the form of a structure, could be in the form of a shape, could be the distance between the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the jaw, the upper outlines of the eye sockets, the side of the mouth, the location of the nose and the eyes, and the area surrounding the cheekbones. Right, so there are so many very interesting features that you are going to consider. But how to consider all these things, right? So that is basically a very interesting challenge work, right? So some of the challenges that you are going to encounter with respect to the face biometrics are this, right? So especially low resolution, aging, model complexity. I think you have a wonderful best set of solutions that are available for each and every challenge that I am going to that I am presenting here, especially with respect to the occlusion and aging. Right, so this is what ear biometrics, right? So some of the features: size, protrusions, the shapes of the helix, shape of antihelix, earlobes, right? So these are some of the ear biometrics that you can, so that these are some of the features that you are going to consider, that you can consider in order to make sure that that is an unique ear that you have captured, right? So some of the challenges that I'll just try to skip this. Right, so tooth biometrics, but this is a very invasive biometric, but unfortunately it is not very easy to capture this biometric. Right, so provided if you have this biometric, it will be very helpful. Right, so a good example that can be given, right? So especially in case of an tooth biometrics, this concept of this disaster of WTC, right? World Trade Center. Yes or no? It's not only in the World Trade Center, right? So whenever if people are burned or due to the earthquake or the tsunami, right? So you cannot really find out the face of a person, or you don't get anything, right? So to identify that person, right? So at that time, the tooth of a person really plays a very, very important role, and this is what the biometric that they are going to consider in order to identify that he is that particular person. Right. So, but unfortunately, you don't have a bank for this. A bank is nothing but the storage of tooth biometrics for this. So, hence it has not really, has gained in popularity. But this is what the biometric that they have considered, especially in order to identify. This is what the example that I have given. Right. So, the significance of automated dental identification become the evident after the recent disasters, such as 9/11 terrorist attack in the United States in 2001 and the Asian tsunami in 2004. The victims' bodies have seriously damaged and decomposed due to fire, water, and other environmental factors. As a result, in many cases, common biometric trait, example, fingerprints, face, were not available. Therefore, the dental features may be the only clue for identification. So this is how actually you can make use of the tooth biometrics for the forensic usage. Right. So voice biometrics you have, right? So, but it has got its own challenges and things. So this is one which is really playing a very important role, right? So because people are not happy with only one type of an biometric, but they are more interested in going with one or two biometric, right? So that is basically an multimodal biometric model, right? So I'm not going to discuss much about this, where you are going to take two or more biometrics, into the consideration. You'll try to fuse it, the features that you are going to get by one or more the biometrics, and you'll try to make use for the forensic applications, right? Sir, I heard that here in unique from person to person because during Veerappan body identification was done through this. Is it true? Yes, you are absolutely true. You are absolutely true. Yes, here is unique. So that is why it is biometric. That is why it is biometric. Right. So this I'll just simply skip, and coming to the last two slides. So this is a very interesting application. I'll just read this. Maybe last 1 minute, Madam Chanama, Madam.
No
Right.
problem, sir.
So see here the Ted Bundy. This is a case which was occurred in the year 1975. Ted Bundy was a serial killer who was responsible for an estimated 30 plus murder. When he was arrested in 1975, there were little physical evidence to prove his crime. Then 2 years later, having been convicted only of kidnapping, Bundy was preparing to stand trial for murder in Colorado when he escaped and headed to Florida. There he killed 3 more people early in 1978. And when he was finally captured in February of that year, the physical evidence in those cases led to this conviction. Most crucial was the matching of a bite remark on the buttock of the victim, Lisa Levy, to the Bundy's distinctive crooked and chipped teeth. He was convicted also of the murder of 12-year-old Kimberly Leach based on fibers found in his van that matched the girl's clothing. So Bundy was put into death in the year 1989. It's such an amazing, application, right? So he was started, convicting the crime during the year 1975, but he was put into death during 1989, right? So by committing almost 33 plus murders, right? So which was helped? The biometric was the one which helped the police, right? So to solve this case, right? So this is one very interesting case study. The another case study by Lindbergh kidnapping. On March 1, 1932, Charles Lindbergh Jr., the 20th month old son of the famous aviator, was kidnapped. And although a ransom of $50,000 was paid, the child was never returned. Tracking the circulation of the bills used in the ransom payment, authorities were led to Bruno Hauptmann, who was found with over $14,000 of the money in his garage. While Hauptmann claimed that the money belonged to a friend, key testimony from handwriting analyst matched his writing to that on the ransom notes. Additional forensic research connected the wood in Hobson attic to the wood used in the makeshift ladder that the kidnappers built to reach the child's bedroom window. Hauptmann was convicted and executed in the year 1936. Almost it took 4 years, right? So almost it took 4 years to capture that information, and all these, was possible only through the, the integration of the biometrics and the forensics, right? So still to go on, there are many other, case studies that I can go on list on. So this is what the just an global biometric system market trends that I wanted to depict here. So in 2020 it was around $36.6 billion, but in 2025, right? So it is going to scale up to $68.6 billion. So you can just see the amount of work that is available, especially in this field. But I'm not really insisting you people to especially work only on these things, right? So, but always you try to integrate between the biometric and the forensics, so that you can have a wonderful solution. Because see, America's already have a threat. By another 2 years, there will be a much big disaster when compared to the WTC terrorist attack. They are expecting the attacks in another 2 years, right? So either from the Afghanistan or from whomever, that is immaterial. But ultimately, they need to get ready for that. So in order to get ready for that, the forensic science should be very, very at the best end. The biometric should be at the best end to them to identify who will be or who is going to create such kind of an problems for them, right? So with this, if you have any queries, I can maybe I'm not guaranteed that I can answer for all the questions that you are going to ask, right? So probably there are other specialists who are really working on biometrics and forensics, like Bharti ma'am, Chanama ma'am, and many other Professor Aradhya, right? So Professor Guru sir, definitely they can really throw you some the mathematical aspects of the concepts. If anything is there, definitely if I am answerable, I can take your questions.
Sir, I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Actually, identification of fingerprint is based on a 3 level. First level is identify the pattern. Second level is extract the mini type feature and individual characteristics like bifurcation and spoor and others. And third level identifications depend on the type of pores and shape and size and location of pore. Is it possible to extract the feature like size of pore, third level of identification of fingerprints from the biometrics device?
Sir, that is true. Yes, because that whatever the the query that is asked, it's more or less that is related to the design and development of an acquisition model, right? So design and development of an acquisition model. I think nowadays, if you see the tremendous amount of work that is going on, especially in the area of biosensors, right? So especially in the area of biosensors and bioacquisition models or the bioacquisition devices, right? So I think they are best in really gaining this information. A simple example that I can give you is, see, for example, ear biometrics, right?
Okay.
Even in ear biometrics, if you see females, most of the times their ears will be closed by their hairs. Have you observed that?
Yes.
Right. So we have in such a highly sophisticated devices such that they'll try to avoid the capturing of these hairs that are falling on these ears, and it tries to capture only this part, that is the ear part, right? So it's always depends upon the how we are going to build the acquisition model. Yes, but it is practically possible.
Okay, thank you.
Sir?
Yes, please.
Yeah, I don't have question. I have one request. Sir, please include some palm biometric palm features also, some vascular feature also. Okay. You have used the iris, ear, fingerprint, but you didn't include any palm raised vascular features.
Yes, madam, definitely yes. But the thing is, here the assignment that was given to me was to build the gap between the biometric and the forensic. And I'm supposed to make use of the best biometrics that are available, right? So that are the best biometrics that are available and that is known to everyone, right? So because unless otherwise, only the computer science students, nobody knows what is basically a palm geometry or the hand biometric, right? So, or even they doesn't know what is basically a sclera and the iris. People will tell only the eyes, but they really, I mean, to the certain extent, they'll talk about the iris, but really people doesn't know what is basically a sclera trait. But probably Chanama madam will definitely consider this input and will probably come out with another FDP which exclusively speaks only upon the biometrics. So I think computer application is one best department in our campus who does many activities on the area of biometrics. Probably, I think you can take it as an input, madam.
Yes, sir. Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a lot, ma'am.
Yeah. If there are any other questions, speaker is very enthusiastic to answer even after 4:17. Okay.
Madam, I
Okay,
don't
let
have
us
any
wind up.
question. If you allow me, I can. I want to give an appreciation note for Dr. Harish covering the elaborative factors of all biometrics and finding out the gaps towards forensic. Thank you very much, sir, for giving this very informative introductory session on the first day, so that it would help
Thank
for
you.
all other speakers in the fourth.
Madam, thank you very much,
Thank you,
madam.
sir. Thank you, madam.
In fact, the sessions that I was attending from the morning, and I attended all the sessions, it found very interesting, especially Anurag, right? So Anurag Gupta, Anurag Gupta,
Gaurav Gupta.
Gaurav Gupta, sorry. Gaurav Gupta sir's talk was really an amazing, which has really thrown up many of the research avenues for the budding researchers to work on it. Right. So, and probably the other talks by you people will be much more input to them, especially from the signature verification and recognition. Yes. Yes, Chanama.
Here we are getting feedbacks here itself. Anyway, thank you very much for making this post lunch session as interactive. So still, so we can see the feedback of these sessions. Okay. Anyway, thank you very much, sir, for the informative session.